What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
All right, I think we are all set. What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode number 462 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's KB and Matt coming at you from Underground Studios. We got a lot to dive into tonight from the Phillies, the Sixers, the Eagles, the Union, and if you're watching live on Twitch, which you should be every single Wednesday night, we're live, twitch.tv/undergroundsportsphi. You see, I got my Premier Lacrosse League hat on, Matt, today. The league hit us up, and they gifted us with 4 tickets to the PLL semifinal this weekend down there in Washington, D.C. at Audi Field. So we're giving away some tickets over on the Outside the Box podcast Twitter account. So go check that out. It's the pinned tweet over there. All you got to do is retweet and follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and tag a friend below that you would bring to the game. So 4 tickets for the PLL semifinal up for grab. Winner announced on Friday, probably around noon, so you have enough time to get ready to rock and roll in D.C. on Sunday. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials as well, at Underground PHI on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow Matt on Twitter, at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. In the Apple Podcast reviews, let us know how you feel about this Eagles season upcoming, how you feel about the newest member of the Philadelphia 76ers, and of course, your thoughts on the Phils after a tough road trip, but a nice bounce-back win against the Miami Marlins, and anything else that comes to mind. 5 stars only, because we have standards. We know you do too, and we know they're 5 stars. And make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, where you get full video episodes of every single Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast. That includes this show, Outside the Box, Top Bins with Matt and Dom, the Dan Russo Show, our partnership with Vineland High School Football, the Get in the Hole podcast, Streamer Season, Eagles Enemies, all of that is available on our YouTube channel. So go subscribe to the YouTube, smash that like button, ring the bell icon, and of course get the comment section flowing as well. Big thank you to our sponsors who make this show happen: Main Auto LLC, Ducharme's Pro Foot, Security 21 Security Systems, Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated, the Dental Wellness Center of Vineland, Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. You guys can go to tomahawkshades.com, get your hands on sunglasses, blue light glasses, hoodies, shirts, hats, watches, you name it, they got it. Use code USP at checkout for 25% off your order at tomahawkshades.com. Kenwood Beer, they just launched arguably the best merch drop of any company out there. The Kenny Rope hats, the It's a Bad Day to Be a Kenny shirt. And, of course, they've got that all-new and improved Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You got to be 21 or older to check all that out. And, of course, please drink responsibly. And the boys over at Bino, as we've mentioned, Matt, since probably the last couple weeks now, leading up to the World Cup, every single week, new World Cup boards will be dropped. And that includes this Friday. The new Team France board will be dropping. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I just got the text message about it today. You guys can go to binoboard.com. It's like paper football meets foosball. You should have it at every single tailgate. It is the next big tabletop game on the market. So go to binoboard.com and use code BINOUSP for 10% off your order at binoboard.com. That's 10% off your order at binoboard.com with code BINOUSP. And there's that Team France beauty.
Clean looking.
Absolutely gorgeous. So go get your hands on that. Plus, it comes with the limited edition World Cup carrying case. What's going on, man?
Living the dream.
Back to school?
Back to school.
How were the vibes?
Vibes were good despite the heavy rain. We all persisted.
Yes. And despite the horrendous road trip that the Phillies had out west, they persisted last night. Gene Segura with an incredible walk-off hit, absolutely trashes the Marlins on the hot mic, and the Phillies win 3-2 on a Gene Segura walk-off. Rhys Hoskins grabbing Gene's face and going full-blown Incredible Hulk on him. And Gene launched his bat so high that you could see it on the outfield cam when the ball landed in the outfield. But Phil's bounced back, get a much-needed win. The Brewers lose today, so if the Phillies can win tonight, that's another big step in gaining, that traction back in the NL wild card race. But you're going to have those tough road trips, and thankfully the West Coast is over with for the 2022 season.
Yeah. Something about San Francisco was just always kind of a nightmare for the Phillies. The Diamondback series, that was a tough one because, you just got the leather beat off of you out there. It's weird, too. It's always hit or miss, and I think maybe this is something to file away for next year, but I feel like we get in the habit, not just us, but a lot of people, we get in the habit of looking at bad teams in August and September and thinking, wow. And we forget sometimes that there will be a lot of young players, a lot of guys trying to make, their way in the league and with a lot to prove that I think can catch a team like the Phillies. And it's weird too because it's so hard because I think people get so caught up in their own team that forget that the Nats went and beat the Mets this week. It's just, this stuff is happening to every team. And when you consider just the injuries the Phillies have had, especially in the pitching room, it's not all that crazy. It's not good. I don't want to make it seem like that, but it doesn't feel like earth-shattering stuff. And I think the fact that they're still, they have those tiebreakers they do over the wild card. They still have a 3.5 game lead. They can extend that tonight with a win, hopefully. And it's hard for me to get too bothered about that.
Yeah, it's one of those, like the Cubs series happened out of the All-Star break. This road trip happened, but you bounce back against a team that's given you nightmares for the last decade in the Marlins, and you just got to continue to roll with the punches and kind of just, deal with the teams in front of you. It doesn't seem like the Braves are slowing down anytime soon. They're now tied for the lead in the NL East with the Mets, and if the season ended today, the Phillies would be playing the Mets in the wild card round. And I don't know how I feel about that. The way that the Mets have been playing over the last 2-month stretch, they've played a 98 win pace record, and they've lost 9.5 games in the standings. So I don't know if I the Mets are struggling right now. Scherzer's going on the injured list. I don't know. It's just weird how this whole thing is going to eventually play out. We'll see. But I don't know who I want the Phillies to play in the playoffs.
I don't care because I'm just cards on the table. I don't want to play either the Braves or the Mets because that is just an anxiety series for me that I will not enjoy, even though it's the Phillies back in the playoffs, which is ultimately what I want. But that's a hard series to enjoy no matter what. We have not played the Mets good at all this season.
Right.
Braves, we played okay this year. I think we're at 500 with them.
Yeah, I think we're 6-6 with 7 left to play.
So, you know what? We'll live with that. Maybe in an ideal world, somehow we end up as the last wild card.
Hello, St. Louis, my own personal hell.
Yeah, there's really no. It's
no, it's all bad.
Behind door number 1 is a razor blade. Behind door number 2 is a bucket of spiders. There's just nothing. There's nothing good. There's no good surprise.
And then it's a spider holding a razor blade behind door number 3.
Right. And it's very upset with you. I just also too the NL's tough. It's just it's so challenging. This team is going to touch high 80s, mid to high 80s, and is going to be, in other years, would not be making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That should also be said. In other seasons, this team would not even be in the playoffs. Right. Potentially, despite how good they've played. So that's just, I think, the barometer of the National League right now. And it's hard for me not to take some pleasure in the Mets.
Oh, yeah. It's great
really,
watching them.
I got to be honest. It's really hard for me to not laugh a little at that. And
I think the only thing that Phillies fans and Mets fans have in common right now is just how god-awfully annoying the Braves are to both of our teams in terms of the standings. Where, like, the Mets have played pretty solid baseball over the last 2.5 months, have lost 9.5 games in the standings. The Phillies and Braves were going back and forth with their win streaks earlier in the year, and the Phillies lose like 3 games in the standings because they lost like 2 games. The Braves are just an annoying-ass team, annoying-ass fan base, and as Dom once said back in the day for the OGs, their mascot looks like a test tube fanatic.
Very true. It feels like the Braves haven't lost a game since
Right.
like May.
It's insane.
I don't know what it is. The run they've been on is just it's kind of insane.
I can't handle the Braves just success.
Spencer Strider just
Out of nowhere.
just like
Just like a 5'7" mustachioed fiend on the mound. Like, let's just get a casual 16 strikeouts in a game.
Unreal.
Like, ridiculous.
very cool. Love that this is our division. That is like the coolest thing. I think it's great. I think it's actually a lot of fun.
The other annoying part, I think, with the Phillies and what happened out west too, and the lack of runs last night as well, is like Castellanos has been one of the hottest hitters in baseball over the last month and a half. He's on the injured list now. Who knows how long he's going to be out? For whatever reason, Bryson Stott is now riding the bench the last 2 games when he's been hitting lefties really, really well in favor of Edmundo Sosa, who had a very good game last night, but very interesting decision by Rob Thompson to leave Stott on the bench when he's been playing super well. Hopefully he's not hurt. Zach Wheeler's on the injured list. Luckily, it looks like Sir Anthony Dominguez and Zach Eflin are on their way back from the injured list, but the slew of just like injuries to key core players on this team has come at the worst possible time.
Yeah, I think I saw a report that Eflin was able to play catch the other day and didn't have soreness. So that's
solid.
Obviously an improvement. Zach Eflin potentially making his way back would be a huge surprise, because I think in some way we had penciled him in out of the picture of this lineup. Sir Anthony being back would be, oh, God. boy, do we need that. Boy, do we need a reliable relief pitcher right now. That'd be... How far have we fallen that Sir Anthony Dominguez is like the oasis,
pariah.
the oasis in our desert for us? Right
Well,
now.
I was in the desert, Matt. I was at Fenway on Sunday, and Red Sox were beating the Rangers. Their starter was pitching pretty decently, but his pitch count got kind of high, and I had totally removed this guy that I'm about to bring up from my brain and forgot that the Red Sox had signed him after we got rid of his bum ass. I had to watch Jerry's Familia pitch in a game live for the Boston Red Sox.
You got to watch Jerry's.
And when I tell you, I have never booed a player from a team that I don't like. The Red Sox are the one Boston team that like don't grind my gears really, as opposed to the Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots. Like the Red Sox are just a whatever. Like I don't feel one way or another about them.
They suffered for their success,
right?
Like,
and then cheated for it later.
yes.
But to have to see Jerry's Familia run out of the bullpen, I was telling the Texas Rangers, I said, don't make this guy look good. Hit him around. Get this bum out of here. And then, of course, he proceeds to throw an inning and a third of scoreless baseball.
So that's so cool. That's so cool that he did that.
He's a bum.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Phil's right now, at least the rest of the schedule in front of them are familiar opponents where you're kind of just duking it out with the rest of the NL East.
The devil you know.
Most of the rest of the regular season outside of a 2-game series against the Blue Jays. You got the Cubs still on the schedule, and then your final regular season series against the Astros on the road.
Which maybe
Could
the Astros
mean something.
It could mean something, but it might mean absolutely nothing to the Astros,
Right.
which could be good for us.
And, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Braves and the Mets, but, the Phillies still have 7 games against the Braves. And the final series before that Astros series, the Phillies have 4 games against the Nationals, where the Mets are playing 3 games against the Braves.
As we turn to October. Hey, Phillies are guaranteed to play October baseball this year.
Still have a 76% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, let me see. 538 has us at 84%.
I think the 76 was from Fangraphs, so
I think Fangraphs, I want to say, takes more into account preseason prediction as well. So, whereas 538 takes in a little bit of both. And then I think Baseball Reference is just like, yeah, you're good. Let's see what Baseball
you're
Reference...
above 500, you're getting it.
Yeah, Baseball Reference has this at 92.6. So,
almost a lock.
almost a lock. Almost a little scary. You know, makes you a little worried, actually, that they're that confident. What do they know that we don't?
The
1% chance to win the World Series, according to 538.
Hey.
He's saying there's a chance. I don't, you know?
I mean, you said it preseason. You think there's a better chance for the Phillies to win the World Series than to
make the
playoffs.
Like, you could tell me a story that the Phillies will win the World Series rather than make the playoffs, just because I felt like this team gets hot over the course of like 4 weeks. They could win a lot of games.
It's a wrap.
But I will say the consistency this year has been better. We'll take it. It makes you wish we just had canned Girardi. I'm just imagining what would be a heated 3-team race for NL East if we had Rob Thompson the whole season. Like 3 NL East teams making it to almost 100 wins. And just how annoying that would be on our hearts.
Would be nice.
Would be nice.
There's always next year, as they say.
There's always next year.
We have had some shakeup, Matt, in our favorite game to play on this show, the NL East run differential. Tonight, not brought to you by Pickup, because they will be bringing us our Philadelphia Eagles predictions later on in the show. But as always, you guys can check out Pickup. We'll talk to you about them in a little bit. But the NL East run differential, the Atlanta Braves and New York Mets tied atop the NL East for the first time in quite some time. The Braves running away with the NL East run differential crown right now at plus 160. The Mets at plus 119. The Phillies at plus 66. The Miami Marlins at minus 93. And that stolen franchise, the Washington Nationals, no longer in the basement of the run differential in all of baseball, but still at a minus 203.
They had a great Labor Day weekend.
Yes, they did.
Good for them.
It's good for me, too, because my Pirates' future on them having the worst record in baseball is making me sweat it out, as the Pirates now hold the worst run differential in all of baseball at minus 207. It's very close. Pirates 3 games back in the loss column for the worst record in baseball, 2 in the win column, so Pirates keep losing. It's weird when you got to root for the Mets sometimes, but I've been hoping the Mets.
The bankroll is a little more important sometimes.
Yeah, need the Mets to beat the Pirates. And of course, the Dodgers are just leading the entire league in run differential at plus 294. Dude, are they going to finish with plus 300?
Yes.
300 plus?
Yes. The question is if they can touch like 350.
Yeah.
That's really where it might get interesting, but. Yeah, it just feels like this is all like a nice little warm-up until the Dodgers just like buzzsaw through everyone.
Yes. And then they can rub it in everyone's faces and say that they finally don't have a Mickey Mouse championship like they did in 2020. Anyone but the Mets or the Braves, though.
Yeah. Prefer it not to be the Dodgers, but
or Cardinals.
Really, no. I mean, it sucks. Pretty much no one besides the Phillies in the National League.
Yeah. What a time. What a time. Hopefully the Phillies beat the Marlins again tonight, though, because that's always fun. Bailey Falter on the mound. And I do have to say, I don't know. Actually, no, I'm not going to retract it, because ever since I said I didn't want to see Bailey Falter pitch for this team again, he's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, like one of our most consistent pitchers over the last few weeks.
Only pitcher to win a game in that Mets series.
Who knew? Who
Baseball.
Had that? Who had that on the bingo card?
Marlins are winning 1-0 in the bottom of the second, so we'll see how that shakes out. But Matt, since the last time we recorded, and it feels like it's been quite some time, it's very rare that you get a September signing in the NBA of such a well-known player. Montrezl Harrell is now a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. I touched on it a little bit with Pat Pitts on the episode that came out today because it happened right when we were recording, but wanted to get your thoughts on the new backup big man joining the fold for the Philadelphia 76ers, one Montrezl Harrell.
Great for the regular season. Here's the thing, though, because we've said this a lot about the backup big men that the Sixers have gotten over the years. This has been the line. Great for the regular season. Not sure if they'll be playoff material. Yet, Dwight Howard, Andre Drummond, I don't know. They've performed well when we've needed them to. Maybe Harrell will be that. I think especially, though, for the regular season, this is a guy that helps the Sixers a lot. Does make you wonder about the roster, though, because it seems like we're going to be losing someone on the fringes now. It could be someone like Bassey, maybe someone like Isaiah Joe, but it's tough to say right now who's going to be kind of the casualty here. But yeah, it was also kind of remarkable too. He was unsigned this long because he does still have something in the tank, and
he's also a lot younger than I thought he was.
Yes,
he's only 29 years old.
Right. Sort of had a late-ish kind of blooming type of situation. Obviously most well known for his time with the Clippers, with Doc, and getting that Sixth Man of the Year award. But I think it's a nice addition because this was something I think that we did miss post Andre Drummond, which is just an insane sentence that I just said last season. So I'm happy to have Trez in.
And as everyone says, Trez has that dog in him. So
yeah,
I comped the grit and the dog that he has to the Morris brothers, or bringing somebody in from that corner of the NBA where they're gonna stir the pot, they're gonna get in your face and kind of be that momentum shifter if you need it. And I mean, last year he was not terrible for the Wizards and the Hornets, who he spent time with both last year. I think he averaged 13.1 points per game for them. And I mean, like I say, he's 29, and he was, not that it's our good friend Trill Bro Dude broke it down on his new episode of Ball with the tiny slop drop, if you will. He said it's not a Trez problem, it's a Doc problem, but playing Trez too much in the playoffs was what inevitably got Doc Rivers fired. So maybe that's a sign of things to come for the Sixers.
Maybe. It's going to be harder to do that with Embiid in front of them. I'll say that. There's the added challenge.
Also, I wanted to bring up, we talked about this too on the most recent episode. Did you see the Furkan Korkmaz story?
I did. Did you see our boy Mike Scott's response?
I did not see Mike's response.
Mike Scott tweeted,
Shout out to our guy.
It was wonderful. And it's so he quote tweeted the video. Did he get rid of it? He must have deleted it. Well, it happened. I saw it. He quote tweeted with the new emoji that's kind of crying and smiling of the video of Furkan getting in the fight on the court. Clearly, Mike Scott approved and was very proud of Korkmaz for his.
When you said video, the first thing that popped in my head was when the Karl Anthony Towns brawl was happening, and Mike Scott's looking up at the big screen, grimacing at it, just yes.
He had to have deleted because there's no way that I just imagined that in my mind.
Right.
So shout out to Mike Scott.
That's incredible. And I mean, I read a whole bunch of the story too, and the team that Furk is playing for Turkey, they're protesting the game too because they feel 22 seconds were taken off the clock to send it to overtime. Furk's coach got ejected from the game in the second overtime. Just a wild scene in Eurobasket right now.
Yeah, the Eurobasket is popping off. Luka Doncic breaking a record today. Well, not a record, just the first time in generations that someone has scored. I think he had 47. It's been an insane tournament. I haven't been able to catch much of it, but shout out to Furkan for holding it down, I guess.
And he's been playing out of his mind over there.
Yeah.
He's just been playing like he's, Turkish Kobe or something because
that's how he plays here. I don't know.
He's splashing
I don't
everything.
really see the difference, actually.
Matt, the Philadelphia Eagles kick off their season this Sunday in Detroit, and the game is sold out. First sold-out game that is not on Thanksgiving that the Lions will be offering standing room only tickets for since 2017. And I have to say, I'm sure part of that is the Eagles. I'm sure part of that is Hard Knocks for the Lions. But I figured, like we do every year, we go through much closer to the season, the Eagles' schedule, predict their wins and losses. We did do our wins predictions last week, so if you missed that for every single NFL team, we're going to go through and do our preseason Eagles predictions, brought to you by our pals over at Pickup. You guys can go to playpickup.com, start playing the hottest headlines in sports, rack up points on your fan profiles, and cash them in for prizes on the Pickup Marketplace. That's playpickup.com. Detroit Lions is a nice, tasty opener for this Eagles team, who the media got to be in the locker room today for the first time since the Eagles lost to the Seahawks in the playoffs in 2019. And A.J. Brown had an open sign hanging from his locker, which I found very hilarious. But, Matt, the schedule for the Eagles, a team who made the postseason last year, on paper, seems very Eagles friendly, I would say, for the moves they made this offseason, the way that people are just talking about this team. The schedule, I think, plays in their favor in a lot of ways.
I think the schedule is factored into a lot of the discussion around the Eagles. I think people that have been talking about them like being an improved team, talking about them, especially if you're talking like betting circles, right? Like you look at just like the talent that they have and then also the schedule, and you think there are, I mean, you just briefly glance through and you think there's 6 or 7 very winnable games for the Eagles, which is a positive thing to have coming into the season. And then, you know, when you consider the division is probably not going to be amazing still. I think the Eagles have a very, very favorable schedule.
So to kick off the season, the first month, September, Eagles have 3 games. They are at Detroit, and then they kick off their home schedule Monday Night Football against the Vikings. And then week 3, September 25th, they go on the road to say hello to Carson Wentz and the Washington Commanders. 3 games that I think, I don't know about you, I feel like so many people are overhyping the Vikings. It seems like, I don't know what I saw, Dom quote tweeted NFL Network's predictions for the NFL MVP, and Michael Irvin allegedly selected Kirk Cousins to be the MVP of the league, and Dom said that Michael Irvin's smoking that Zaza. I just feel like so many people are overhyping the Vikings for no reason whatsoever. But to me, I feel like the Eagles could win all 3 of those games in September, and nobody would blink twice if you told them that.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are maybe have gotten a little bit of the overhype, but they do have an interesting new head coach, and I think too, like last year, this team could have won a lot more games if they had just some like better luck, and they lost quite a few close ones. So I think people are just also expecting some like good regression there. I think people are also just expecting that Justin Jefferson he's already one of the best wide receivers in the league. I think they're kind of projecting a really, really top-level performance from him. I think there's a lot to like about the Vikings, especially offensively. As far as, like, the month of September, I look at this and think Eagles likely coming out of this 2-1. I think the Lions feels a little bit like a trap to me. Feels like you walk into in there and think, like, I feel like people look at this right now and think that the Lions are like the Lions last year, and also forget that the Lions last year were very competitive. You know, although being one of the worst teams in the NFL, like those games were not like blowouts for the most part. Like
Except
they were
when they played the Eagles on your wedding.
Right, exactly. But because they knew the deal. But
yes,
you know, for the most part, the Lions were still like for being a terrible team, we're still in a lot of games. And I think this year, not that they'll be amazing, but I just think not the easiest. It's not the Falcons on the first day last year, right? Like a team that really just kind of dead in the water. Vikings could be a little tricky. I expect this team to beat, because even away to Washington, what does that mean?
Yeah,
I think that's just a long commute for Eagles fans.
Exactly. I think is a bus trip that is taking over 1,000 Eagles fans to Washington.
And that'll be about 10 times more Washington fans.
Yes.
They'll be there.
The month of October is fun. 3 games as well. The Eagles bye week happens in October. I'm sorry, there's 4 games. Bye week does happen in October, though. So, second home game, Dougie P comes home for the first time as the Jaguars come to town to take on the Eagles. Then week 5, the Eagles go out west to say hello to Zach Ertz, the DeAndre Hopkins-less Arizona Cardinals. And then week 6, Sunday Night Football, October 16th, at home at the Link, taking on the Cowboys before the bye week. And then you wrap up the month of October at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Jaguars, Cowboys, and Steelers all at home. Cardinals on the road, plus your week 7 bye week in the month of October.
It's tough. I think the Jaguars would be a better team this year, but I think if you have hopes for the Eagles, they should be beating a team like the Jaguars. Cardinals are very hard to predict what they're going to look like. I can remember last year, everyone saying that the Cardinals were going to be bad, like picking the unders a lot. I think they had like an 8.5 under last year, and they started out as one of the best teams in the league last season, right? And sort of fell apart halfway through. Cowboys, I think people have been a little too negative. It's like weird, with the Vikings, the pendulum has swung so much in the optimist, whereas the Cowboys, I feel like it has swung so far to being negative about this team. And there are things to be critical of, and I think they didn't have a great offseason. They've had some key injuries already, but I still think like regular season Cowboys are good. Historically, though, the Eagles have split with the Cowboys, though.
Yeah.
Like that has just been pretty much home team wins. So it's hard to see it any other way. And the Steelers, we know it'll be a bad quarterback situation, whether it's Trubisky or Pickens. But I think again, if you're leaving October, going 3-1 through that, I think that's a very good mark, and I think that is achievable. I think any one of those games, honestly, the Eagles could lose, and I wouldn't be totally shocked by that. But I think 3-1 is where I see them after October.
That's where I have them in the month of October as well. Whether it's the Cowboys or the Cardinals, those are the two that kind of stick out. Even without DeAndre Hopkins, I still think the Cardinals are a very good team. Rondell Moore is, I think, one of the more underrated wide receivers in the NFL, just waiting to break out. And they have weapons all over the field, and I think that game happens before Call of Duty drops, so Kyler Murray will still be locked in, ready to rock and roll. But I think 3-1 is pretty doable in the month of October for the Eagles, plus that Week 7 bye week. I think it's a pretty solid week to have the bye as well, kind of a mid-season regroup. Then the month of November, your Thursday night football game is at the Houston Texans. Then you're home against the Commanders on Monday Night Football. Then you go to Indianapolis, Nick Sirianni's return to take on the Colts. And then November 27th, Sunday Night Football at the Link, hosting Ayahuasca Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. So month of November, Texans on the road, Washington at home, Colts on the road, Packers at home.
Yeah, I think this has to be 2-2, just because I think Colts could be very tricky. Packers, I still think the Packers are going to be very good this year.
I agree.
I'm not buying the dip on them just yet. I'm holding on to my Packers stock. I think the Texans could be, again, not a good team this year, but I think
Short week,
and also I think sometimes you have these like, you can get caught off by teams like this, right? Especially on a shorter week. So I'm just giving that leeway there. I think the Eagles should do the double on Washington this year. I think they're that much better of a team, especially at home, and they do have obviously a longer break between Houston and them. But yeah, I could see November being a 2-2 month. I think some more challenging games in there.
I'm gonna go 3-1. I think the Texans are gonna be very, very bad, and they're trying to be.
Hey, Dolphins were very, very bad last year and gave it to like the Ravens. Like it's just the way it goes. The Jaguars, everyone forgets this. Jaguars beat the Bills last year. Like it's just you gotta have to. Random shit happens in the NFL. Like you just got to live with it.
As soon as the schedule came out, I had that Green Bay game as a loss. I just think it's one of those things where the Packers have always had the Eagles number for quite some time now, even dating back to like Chip Kelly era. I think the Eagles could beat the Colts. I think that game will be very close.
To be fair, in the Chip Kelly era, having the Eagles number was as simple as like going to a deli at a grocery store. Like you could just take a number, and it was fine.
That's
like,
very true. I do think that Colts game is going to be very back and forth, and will be very reliant on the Eagles defense being able to stop South Jersey native Jonathan Taylor, who just got named the captain of the Colts. So congrats to him. But I'm going to go 3-1 there. And then the month of December, the Titans come to town on December 4th, the A.J. Brown revenge game, if you will. Then at the Giants, December 11th. At the Bears, December 18th. At the Cowboys on Christmas Eve. Home against the Saints on New Year's Day. And then Week 18 rounds out with a home game against the Giants. So home against the Titans. Titans, Saints, and Giants on the road against the Giants, Bears, and Cowboys.
Tough month again. It's hard to make what the Titans will be this year because there's so many question marks. I do worry about playing them this late in the season. If you're asking me, the Titans are a type of team I think I'd rather play in September rather than later in the year. I think we've seen this team just as they go along pick up a lot of momentum. You give someone like Treylon Burks, who I think could be a breakout rookie. Not breaking any news by saying, but you give a guy like that with that much skill and potential, 2.5, 3 months into the season, and that could be where
it's prime Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, he gets his software upgrade when the weather drops below 40. Outside of that, though, you have the Giants. Not a team that particularly scares me all that much, but again, could be better this year. The Bears, likely to be the worst team in the NFL. Away to the Cowboys has just not been a place that the Eagles have found joy from. So I'm gonna say 3-1 would be a good return off of this. Like I think that's again a strong month, and I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. But I'm going to say a tight 2-2 here.
Yeah, I'm going to say 2-2 as well. I think the Titans and the Cowboys are two tough teams there. Not that we want our Christmas ruined, but the Sixers could rebound and fix that.
That's hilarious. Yep.
I'll be here all week.
It's nice that you think that.
I agree. 2-2 in the month of December is kind of where I have this team. Rounding out, heading into 2 January games, like I mentioned. Home against the Saints, home against the Giants to end the year. I personally think it's possibly a split, and you're probably thinking that it's the Saints. Well, no, I think the Eagles beat the Saints because I think that Giants game is not going to really mean anything at that point in the year. So I'm going to have them go 1-1 in the month of January, regular season-wise, to round out the schedule.
I'm having them go 2-0. The Saints... That was like the big Jalen Hurts game. Jesus, not even that long ago now.
Last year and the year before.
Yeah, like his really like first big moment, and then last year, they played them very well. So obviously some new things with the Saints, right? It's a little different a team, and I think you could tell a similar story about the Saints that you do with the Titans, where maybe you would rather play them earlier in the season than later. Feels like a team that could pick up a lot of momentum as the year goes along, but. I do think the Giants game could depend a lot on where the division is. Mm-hmm. If the Eagles have the division locked up, yes, I would imagine you're resting starters. But I think the division could be close because, again, the way I see it, they're probably losing to the Cowboys on Christmas Eve, which would suck. Terrible Christmas present. But I think that would put a little jeopardy and put a little, drama into the last few weeks. And I think the Eagles may have to actually win. Not win to be in or anything, but, have to kind of take care of business. Like, it'll be in their control, right? Like, destiny's in their hands, and they won't be able to rest. So, but I think they finished 2-0.
And, Matt, somehow, some way, last week with our wins predictions for every team, you had the Eagles going 11-6. I had them going 12-5. And that's exactly what we worked out here. I have them going 12-5. You have them going 11-6, which I think both of those records, one way or another, is good enough to win the NFC East.
I think 10 wins should do it. I think the Cowboys could be around that mark, but I think 10 wins. You are certainly going into the last week, with the division very much in play still. I don't think there's going to be like a runaway here.
Yeah, I completely agree. A lot of people high on this team. I've seen a few people saying that the Eagles are their Super Bowl prediction for the NFC, which would be wild.
It's hard because the NFC is very unpredictable.
Yes.
We could just quickly run through the NFC, like at least the contenders, because the Eagles I think have shown the most improvement and have I think a reasonable ceiling, like a reasonable jump that a lot of other teams can't quite make. You look at the other contenders. I don't know that you would call the Cowboys Super Bowl contenders, and I'm not sure the Eagles are quite Super Bowl contenders. I have to see it before I believe it. Call me St. Thomas, but the Cowboys did take a step back over the summer. Injuries like we already mentioned. Vikings are being considered a dark horse. I don't know that I see them as that standard. I think they could be a playoff team. I struggle to see Kirk Cousins winning a Super Bowl.
I struggle to see him winning that division.
Yeah, the division will be hard too. It's certainly going to be through the wild card, and then from there, that's a challenge. But Packers, obviously notable loss in Devontae Adams, but you expect that. I really thought they should have done better in the playoffs last year.
Yes.
They thought it was an embarrassing loss, and part of it is on Aaron Rodgers, but part of that was obviously on their special teams unit, which did get upgraded over this offseason, so that's a major plus.
Drafted 2 young receivers.
But there's question marks there. You'd be foolish to say there aren't. Buccaneers, question marks and injuries, and they feel like, though, a team that's going to go, and I mean, even in their Super Bowl year, weren't spectacular in the regular season.
New head coach.
But they have that ability to just run through the playoffs, and they feel very much like a like the NBA teams that are just get us to the playoffs. I don't really care. Get us some home field advantage if we can. And outside of that, the Saints, it might be a bubble playoff team, but I don't see them as legitimate contenders. The Rams, 49ers, I think are the two most likely out of the West to make real noise. 49ers cannot be forgotten that they, again, somehow with Jimmy G last year, were still almost a Super Bowl team. Rams, obviously defending Super Bowl champions. I think it's hard to really count them out. So I can see why people are high on the Eagles. The Cardinals, Super Bowl seems lofty for them, but especially when you factor in how awful they looked in the playoffs last year, just felt like they got totally outclassed. And Kyler Murray, that was just a total meltdown from him. I would honestly lean 49ers. That's who I would really think about from the NFC. I just think they've been so close. Kyle Shanahan he knows how to beat teams. I think he's just very good, and I think it's very hard for me to look at this NFC and be really confident in anyone. But I think in no particular order, I think it'd be 49ers, Rams, Bucks, Eagles as
your top 4.
The big favorites. The Packers, I think I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what this offense looks like before I really commit to the bit. But those are the top 5 for sure. The 4 I mentioned with the Packers. And everyone else, I think, is sort of on the bubble, so to speak.
So I have some fun individual player props here for the Birds. Jalen Hurts, Matt, his regular season passing yards over under total right now is set at 3,450.5.
This is a tough one. If you can remember, I know it's very hard for us to remember back a year ago, but the Eagles started out very pass heavy, and I think that was the offense that they wanted to have. And it didn't quite work. Part of that, I think, was a personnel issue. Part of that was also, I think, Jalen Hurts' weaknesses as a quarterback, which are arm strength and accuracy. I think I'd go under on this. Typically, I go under on most player props simply because that's just usually where the money is. But I would go under this just because I think the additions, I feel like this is going to be a more efficient than volume team. And I still think they showed, too, that they have the ability to have a very good run game. And I think that could balance itself out. He's not going to be a Herbert, right, throwing 45, 4,600 yards. Because he's not going to need to do that. And that's not just his strengths, obviously. So I would go under.
I'm going to say over. I don't know how much over. But I think the addition of an A.J. Brown, I think another year of chemistry with a Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert in the mix. I think this year's going to be a big year in the passing game for some of those running backs, like Kenneth Gainwell, like a Boston Scott, We'll see how Miles Sanders pans out, see if he scores his first touchdown since 2020 this year. But I'm going to go over on Jalen Hurts passing yards. Here's another fun one for Jalen Hurts. His regular season total passing touchdowns set at 22.5.
Say it again?
His regular season total passing touchdowns, 22.5 is the number.
I could see this over. Not by much. I could see him at like 25 or 26, like a Derek Carr range. But again, I just think this offense is going to be very efficient. Yeah. I don't know that, again, this is going to be a big blowout type of team. I see like a lot of like 26-17 wins, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would go over though, but I'm
going to go over as well. Jalen Hurts regular season total rushing yards. The number is 675.5.
Man. I am tempted to go over on that. I think that is an achievable number for him. I think you have another year too to kind of assess his strengths, and rushing is a strength for him. You may be working some more designed runs. I'm very curious to see how the Eagles run the ball this year, because that obviously became such a focal point for them last season. Never really feels Jalen Hurts is like not quite Lamar level, obviously. I mean, no one is, but but he has this like weird ability to pick up yards. It's almost like Josh Allen, where Josh Allen just picks up like randomly, just have like nice 16-yard chunks of plays here and there. And so, yeah, I think you get him more designed runs. Maybe Jalen Hurts hits that over.
And the final one for Jalen Hurts, his 2022-2023 regular season total rushing touchdowns is set at 7.5.
I will go under.
I'm with you on that.
I think they want to get Miles Sanders some touchdown love too. I just think like 7 to 9 is like at the higher end typically of even like you're like Josh Allen again. He is to me like one of the hallmarks of like especially being like a goal line quarterback, because that's kind of what he's turned into. Even for him, like 7 to 9 is like where he's at, and I don't know that Jalen is at his level and will be, but I am excited for him.
Yeah, and for reference, last year Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns. Let's see. He had 10 last year, which I think was more predicated on Miles Sanders couldn't score.
Yeah.
And it was just easier to give a big body, bigger, thicker leg Jalen Hurts the ball and let him just pound it in himself.
And again, if you believe that this team is going to be passing more, I think it stands to reason that you might see some of that goal line work maybe go to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Like,
funny bring up A.J. Brown. We have A.J. Brown props here. His regular season total receiving yards, Matt, is set at right at the baseline, 1,000.5.
He's like, people I think have been misguided in A.J. Brown. He's like just a very efficient wide receiver. Typically doesn't have like more than like 60, 70 catches in a season, but does a lot with pretty like average to above average numbers in receptions and targets. I will go over. I will go slightly over there. Not by much, but I could see like 1,100.
I like that.
For AJ Brown.
I'm going to go over as well, a slight over, just because there are a lot of mouths to feed in this offense now. But I do like the over there for AJ Brown, especially his chemistry and off-field connection with Jalen Hurts. I think it's just going to translate to on the field. This next one I feel like is a no-brainer. I might even smash this myself on my sports book of choice, not a sponsor. A.J. Brown, regular season total receiving touchdowns, over under 6.5.
So I'm looking his last 3 years in the league, 8, 11, and 5. 5 coming last year on a Titans team that I feel like it underperformed at times offensively.
And I think the 1 year was the year he was playing with like 2 destroyed knees and he popped off.
Right. So I would say over there. I think again he's already done this twice in his career. 8 and 11 touchdowns in 2 out of the 3 seasons. So I will play the numbers game here and say over.
Yeah, I love the over on this, especially like you said, if you're expecting this Eagles team to pass the ball more, if you believe in the chemistry between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, if you've seen any of the catches that A.J. Brown has made in training camp, in the preseason game that he did play in, like, I think it's going to be there. I think those deep shots are going to be there for A.J. Brown, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of touchdowns for him. So I'm going to take the over there as well. And if you're looking at a sports book of choice, the over's not too terrible, -124. A.J. Brown, regular season total receptions set at 69.5.
I would go under. He's only gotten over that once in the 2020 season when he had 70. Again, this is a guy that is just more efficient with his work. He's not to use a fantasy term, he's not like a PPR machine, right?
He's a yak guy.
He's a yak guy, and he's just like a big body guy over the middle that can do amazing things with a lighter amount of volume.
Yeah, I like the under on this, and it's kind of similar to what I said before. Like, there's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense, whether it's Devontae, Dallas Goedert, whoever's going to be lining up in the slot, whether it's Quez Watkins, somebody like that. I think Jalen's going to spread the ball around a ton. Kenneth Gainwell, I think, is going to be very involved in the passing offense. So I'll take the under 69.5. I think it'll be somewhere around like the 65 range if all goes well. So I'll take the under there. And speaking of Devontae Smith, we're going to go to the same props here for him, just on a lesser scale, just total receiving yards and total receiving touchdowns, and the same for Dallas Goedert. Devontae Smith, regular season total receiving yards, 825.5. Oh,
man, it feels a little high. Do expect him to take a little bit of a step forward. I would go over there. I would go over on that.
Yeah, I think even with the addition of A.J. Brown in the fold, I think 825.5 is pretty low for Devontae, for a guy that I think is going to see a lot of volume and going to be a guy that, can just burn defensive backs because he's going to be mostly lining up against that second DB with A.J. Brown catching that number one coverage. So I'm going to go over as well for Devontae. I think he can eclipse that 900 mark again like he did last year. I like the over for that one. And then for Devontae as well, his total receptions over-under set at 59.5.
I would go over as well. I think he'll have a little more than that.
Yeah, I think he and A.J. Brown are going to be in like similar circles in terms of receptions. I think it'll be in that 60 to 65 range, which hits the over for Devontae as well. And I think he's going to be a guy that just gets a ton of volume, like I said, because A.J. Brown's going to get that number one coverage from every opposing team trying to shut him down. So I'm going to go over there as well. And then we have Dallas Goedert. Matt, the total receiving yards for the Eagles' number one tight end set at over under 700.5.
I will go under. I love Dallas Goedert. I think he's immensely talented, but I don't know that I see that.
I'm right there with you. I think Dallas Goedert is very talented. He does have a lot of early game drop issues that I think will prevent him from picking up more yards than he should. So I'm going to go just slightly under. I hope he proves me wrong, because I think he is very talented, and I think he has the ability to eclipse that, no doubt. And then Dallas Goedert, total receiving touchdowns over-under set at 4.5.
So just looking at his career, he's had 4, 5, 3, and 4. So really he's only eclipsed this once in 2019. Would you expect that maybe you're kind of just betting on a little bit of variance here? And, I think since we took the Jalen Hurts over touchdown, passing touchdowns, I would take a bet that maybe he's a bigger body in the end zone, and maybe, he gets that little luck on his side. So I will go over here, although it's not typically been a mark that he hits.
Yeah, I think the over is the smart play here. I think he's going to be more involved in that red zone offense, where last year I think we saw Jalen Hurts kind of running the ball in more. I think he'll be looking for a big body in Dallas Goedert to get the ball to. So I'm going to take the over there as well. So to recap, Matt and I, our predictions for 2022 for the Philadelphia Eagles, 2022-2023. I have them going 12-5. Matt has them at 11-6. We both think that the Eagles will win the NFC East. Matt thinks Jalen Hurts will throw for under 3,450.5 yards. I have the over. We both have over 22.5 touchdowns for Jalen Hurts. We both have over 675.5 rushing yards for Jalen Hurts. We both took the under on rushing touchdowns, which is set at 7.5. We both have A.J. Brown having over 1,000 yards receiving this year. We both have him at over 6.5 touchdowns on the year. We both have him at under 69.5 total receptions. We both have Devontae Smith with over 825.5 receiving yards and both over 59.5 total receptions for Devontae Smith. We both took the under on Dallas Goedert receiving yards at 700.5, and we both took the over at 4.5 receiving touchdowns for Dallas Goedert. So those are our pickup props for the Philadelphia Eagles for 2022-2023. Go to playpickup.com and start playing those headlines. Matt, speaking of pickup, their lightning bolt logo, the Philadelphia Union. We talked about this probably a month ago. We were trying to conceptualize whether or not they would be in the mix for the Supporters' Shield, and I think at that point they were about, I want to say 6 points behind LAFC in terms of the Supporters' Shield standings. They are now tied with 60 points apiece, and the Union's dominance just continues to rock and roll. You've said it a number of times on this show. This is the best Union team you've seen in your lifetime. And there's just no quit in this team. This team just continues to have opponents come in front of them, and they don't care who it is. They're going to absolutely destroy you.
Yeah, it's nice, too, because LA struggled in recent weeks. They dropped to Houston. Houston, a team in some turmoil, losing their manager, and have contenders for the wooden spoon, the worst record in the MLS this year. And so that is at least open the conversation. So they're level on points now. LAFC does have a game in hand, so that could work in their favor. But just considering the way that they've played lately, and their next game is against Dallas, it's not inconceivable that this now turns into a very legitimate race where you're scoreboard watching the rest of the way. It's nice too because you look at that Phillies remaining schedule too. There's some doable matches here. I think for them, and I think you also consider they play Atlanta again, a team that has its own sort of internal issues at the moment, some infighting, and I think a team you can beat. They play Orlando this weekend, which could be off the back of a letdown or maybe even a little bit of a hangover from the U.S. Open Cup.
And Orlando just got in a little bit of trouble too.
Yeah, some Spygate-like activities. We'll see. We'll see how that. We'll see where that ends up. Then they have Charlotte and Toronto. Toronto not gonna have enough, it seems, to make the playoffs despite Bernardeschi and Insigne coming in.
Is it the top 8 that make it from each conference?
Yeah. So Toronto, I think are not mathematically eliminated, but especially on the final day, on decision day, don't expect them to be playing for much. So it's a pretty good schedule, and one you could expect Philly should get 3 wins out of their final 4. That wouldn't be out of character for them when you consider just the way, especially the second half of the season has gone from them. Wouldn't even be shocking to see them win all 4, but you expect just maybe a little bit of variance or just a bad performance on any given night. But this is a team, as you inch towards the playoffs, is going to be very, very interesting. And it's not a team that I think anyone is going to relish playing when you consider still one of the best defensive teams in all of MLS, and certainly have the best goals against record, and you have someone like Andre Blake to thank for a lot of that. But you consider too that this team has just figured out how to score goals. It's just figured out this front three, which has just been spectacular in the summer months especially. They're a dangerous team, and they could end with a supporter shield and the top seed, and that could lead the championship to being decided in Philadelphia.
And we talked about early in the season where we knew this team was going to be good defensively. We knew they have Andre Blake, who is the best goalkeeper in MLS, in my opinion. But shout out to Gene Segura as well. Just hit a solo home run for the Phils.
God bless you.
We didn't know how this team was going to be able to score per se. And like you said, summer months came around. They got some guys in the transfer window, and they have just the most goals for and the least goals against, which by far and away their goal differential. We talk about the NL East run differential. The Union goal differential is blowing everybody out of the water. They're
Thank
at a plus
you very
42.
much, DC. Thank you very much, DC United, for that little bump. Very appreciated.
The Union set an MLS record for most games won by 6 or more goals in league history in a 10-game span.
It's really insane when you think about it that way. But yeah, it's true. Like Ura, Carranza, and Gazdag have just melded together very well and have. And I mean, this is only off of what, 4.5 months of playing together. It's not anything. These guys haven't been together that much. Even Carranza at the start of the season was technically a lone player, wasn't playing as much, and Ura was a little late to the show, right? And wasn't a few games in until you just consider that this team, that front three, haven't even played together for seasons on seasons, and how good they've looked. Kai Wagner's been fantastic too, probably the best fullback in MLS, certainly from an attacking sense and the balls that he puts in. But there's just a lot of strength in this team, and it really feels like they have not only the talent, not only the performances that we've seen this year, but also sometimes this happens in sports where I think you can win without having some heartbreak, you can win without having some scars and some history. But I do think it's very often that you see teams like that, right? Where they kind of have to have that loss maybe the year before or the seasons before that harden them a little bit and give them that experience. And I think Phillies had that over the years. They're very unlucky last year with COVID to have not had a full roster in that game and still almost won. So for me, they had to be considered one of the favorites as we inch closer to the playoffs.
So it's going to be a joy to watch them in the postseason, the Phils in the postseason, a good Eagles season on the horizon, hopefully a good Sixers season on the horizon, and those are the teams that you should care about in Philadelphia right now until Wings season starts, because they're also going to be a very, very good squad playing at the Wells Fargo Center, unlike one of their constituents who they absolutely stink. We are 2 weeks out too from Survivor, Matt. Next week we'll talk a little more Survivor, getting that holiday spirit, and then of course we'll be selecting our show winner like we have done the last 2 seasons. Do a little, tribe diagnostics, breaking down who we think is going to be that sole survivor for the real ones. If you're new to the show, when it's Survivor season now, we talk about Survivor on this show. It's basically a sport, so tap in for that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Breaking that down once again, season 43 on the horizon. But that's all we got for you guys tonight. Make sure you go check out the pinned tweet over at OTB LaxPod on Twitter. We're giving away 4 tickets, speaking of DC United. This week's semifinals for the PLL is at Audi Field. We're giving away 4 tickets for this weekend, so go check that out. Our pinned tweet over on the Twitter machine at OTB LaxPod for all of the details there. And for some reason my camera just started lagging. I'm gonna fix that real quick before we sign off. Okay. Make sure you go check that out, and make sure you're following us at Underground PHI on Twitter, on Instagram, and follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, where you get full video episodes of every Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast. Top Ends just laid down their Road to 1K Gauntlet Challenge earlier this week. Matt and I will have ours in the very near future. Streamer Season has theirs. Get in the Hole will have theirs very soon as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, smash that like button, click the bell icon so you don't miss a single second of your favorite Underground Sports Philadelphia shows, and share it with your friends. Let's get that 1K closer and closer so we can do some very fun stuff for you guys to celebrate getting to 1K on YouTube. Big thank you to our sponsors, Main Auto LLC, Ducharme's Pro Foot, Security 21 Security Systems, Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated, and the Dental Wellness Center of Vineland, Tomahawk Shades, Pickup, Kenwood Beer, and Bino Board. All of their information is linked in the show notes on audio and in the description on YouTube. This has been episode number 462 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. For Matt, I'm KB. Until next time, we are signing off. Peace.